You've seen the glamour, the wealth, the highlight reels. You've envied the confidence, the freedom, the life that seems effortlessly curated. And maybe you've whispered to yourself, "What am I doing wrong?" But here's the part they don't show you on social media, the unfiltered reality that hides behind every shining moment of success. Behind every applause-worthy milestone is a hidden altar, not of luxury, but of loss. A place where dreams are wrestled with in silence, where tears fall without an audience, where surrender isn't pretty but necessary. See, the public never sees that part, the part where someone turned down a six-figure shortcut because it came at the cost of their values, the part where they gave when they had barely enough, or walked away from a comfortable life because something deeper was calling. That's the price. That's the hidden cost of becoming exceptional. And most people, they quit long before they ever reach that altar. They chase outcomes without understanding the offering it takes to unlock them. So if you think success is all flash and charm, stay with me. Stay for a moment longer, because by the end of this video, you're going to understand why everything you've tried, every hack, every hustle, every well-intentioned plan, kept hitting the same invisible wall. And more importantly, you'll discover the one thing that will change everything, not someday, but tonight. A strategy rooted not in fantasy, but in a spiritual principle that predates every modern method: sacrifice. But not the kind you're thinking of. What if I told you that in the kingdom of true breakthrough, sacrifice isn't the response to blessing, it's the prerequisite for it. It doesn't come after you succeed. It's what you must give before success even knows your name, and that hidden altar, it's not located in some grand temple. It lives inside you, in the small daily choices you make when no one's watching. We applaud hustle, intelligence, discipline. But the currency we ignore, the one that unlocks favor, visibility, and divine alignment, is letting go, releasing what looks good for what lasts. It's not just about 5 a.m. alarms or grinding late into the night. Those are visible sacrifices. Important, yes, but surface level. The real shift happens with the invisible sacrifices, the kind you make in the dark, with no applause. Turning down opportunities that feed your ego but starve your spirit. Declining invitations from people who make you feel good but pull you away from who you're becoming. Choosing to invest money into purpose, education, mentorship, vision, when pleasure is calling you to spend it elsewhere. These are the sacrifices that build capacity, that make room, that tell heaven, "I'm ready." And here's the paradox. They don't always feel powerful in the moment. In fact, they often feel like you're falling behind. But they are spiritual seeds, planted in private, revealed in public. These are the moments that shift everything. And the reason most people never rise, it's not lack of talent. It's their unwillingness to make peace with this process. So if you're still watching, good, because the best part is still coming, and it's the part that nobody talks about. Comfort is a slow, seductive trap. It whispers to you that you're doing fine, that you've earned this rest, that there's no need to push further because you've already come far enough. And for a while, it works. You feel safe. You feel in control. You convince yourself that you're being strategic, patient, wise. Until one day, you wake up, and something inside you screams, "Why am I still here? Why aren't I further along?" That question can be jarring. It shakes your soul, but it holds the truth. Because the reason you're not further ahead isn't fate. It isn't a lack of talent. It's that you've been living inside your comfort zone. And the truth about comfort is this: it's cozy, but it's also the perfect breeding ground for mediocrity. Mediocrity never shows up all at once. It creeps in, one excuse, one delay, one compromise at a time. And before you know it, your goals have turned into memories, your momentum into nostalgia. That's why breaking out requires more than motivation. It demands confrontation. You cannot negotiate with comfort. You must leave it behind, cold turkey. Because the altar of transformation does not exist inside the boundaries of ease. It begins just beyond it. That's where clarity lives. That's where discipline sharpens. That's where you stop asking, "What do I feel like doing?" and start declaring, "What must I become?" You trade comfort for clarity, you trade ease for momentum, and it hurts at first. You will feel like you're losing. You might lose friendships that once felt like family. You might lose free time that once felt like your reward. You might have to give up conveniences that once felt essential. And in those moments, your mind will scream, "This is failure." But it's not. Because after the altar, after that threshold of discomfort, something shifts. You don't just get back what you lost. You gain something entirely different. A new rhythm, a sharper focus, a spiritual authority that others can sense even if they can't explain it. You move differently. You speak differently. Favor starts showing up, not because of luck, but because your life is now aligned. Let me share a moment from my own life. It wasn't dramatic. There were no fireworks, just a quiet evening at my kitchen table, wrestling with a decision. I had two options: stay on a safe, well-paved path filled with comfort and predictability, or take a harder, lonelier road. It meant turning down something lucrative. It meant walking away from applause and attention. Not because it was wrong, but because it wasn't aligned. I chose the altar. I chose discomfort. I chose the kind of discipline that doesn't get applause, the kind that no one claps for. And at first it felt foolish. I second-guessed everything. But then things started happening, slowly. A connection here, a conversation there. Then suddenly, doors that had been bolted shut for years began to swing wide open. People called, ideas flowed, vision became strategy. I wasn't chasing anymore, I was being summoned. That's how anointing works. That's how favor finds you. It doesn't arrive when you're still bargaining with comfort. It shows up when your sacrifice is complete. At first it's quiet, a whisper in your spirit that you're on the right track. Then comes peace, then provision, then acceleration. But none of it starts in the spotlight. It starts in silence, in the private places, on the altar no one else sees, but that heaven never overlooks. That's where power is born. That's where momentum begins. And that's where you trade a comfortable life for a called one. Most people chase results. They chase the visible signs, followers, clients, deals. But the real work happens in the unseen circuitry beneath the surface. It's subconscious. It's emotional. It's spiritual. It's what holds the visible signs of success in place, or tears them down when stress comes. Sacrifice rewires your identity. It trains your heart to trust beyond pain. It asks, what do you want more? Temporary security or transformative elevation? That question determines everything. It's the question you must answer every single day. Stay with me, because in the next segment, I'm going to show you 3 practical altar steps you can take tonight to begin rewiring your future. Real steps, not cliches. And at the end, I'll give you a framework you can use immediately, so that by this time next year, your life will look different, not just online, but for real. The truth is, most people want glory without the price. They want platforms without foundations. But in this world, the real world, elevation without sacrifice is just fantasy. You don't stumble into enduring influence. You build it brick by brick, decision by decision, sacrifice by sacrifice. And here's what no one tells you. Every great life is built on an invisible altar. Not the kind made of stone, but one made of time, discipline, and painful obedience. Some of the most powerful people you've ever admired. Their success is soaked in sacrifice, not the kind that makes headlines, but the kind that happens at 3 a.m. when everyone else is asleep, the kind where you give up comfort, pride, or ego to follow a deeper call. You think they just got lucky. Number luck doesn't repeat. Patterns do. And the pattern of every meaningful transformation begins in secret. It begins when a man or woman says, "Enough with the mediocre." Enough with waiting. I'm building something no one sees yet, but soon they won't be able to ignore it. You want real change? Then you need real cost. The kind of cost that doesn't feel glamorous. The kind that makes you question everything. But the moment you lean into that cost, something strange happens. You stop chasing shortcuts. You stop craving applause. You start becoming solid, grounded, dangerous, in the best way. There's a reason the richest and most influential people in the world often speak in riddles, because what got them there wasn't always loud. It wasn't always pretty. It was hidden, strategic, sacrificial. They mastered one truth. If you build in silence, the world will echo your name in noise. But you don't have to guess anymore. You don't have to wonder what it takes, because what I'm telling you right now is not motivation. It's a manual, a system, a law, the law of sacrifice, and it works in any field, in any country, at any time in history. Look around. Most people are surviving, drifting, hoping. Few are deliberately building. Why? Because building costs more upfront. It costs focus. It costs friends. It costs false identities. But the return? The return is authority. The return is internal peace. The return is a life that can't be taken away by trends or turmoil. You want wealth that lasts? Sacrifice. You want a family that thrives? Sacrifice. You want clarity in your business, in your calling, in your character? Sacrifice. Because here's the paradox. What you give up when it's given to the right altar never leaves your life. It just returns multiplied, changed, supercharged. Ask any person of deep influence and they'll tell you there was a season they gave it all, and in return they became someone the world couldn't ignore. This isn't about charity. It's not about guilt. It's about alignment. Strategic alignment with laws that govern the outcomes you say you want. If you plant nothing, you get nothing. But if you plant in obedience, even if the ground looks dry, the harvest will come. And it will come when you're not looking for validation, when you're not chasing applause. It'll come when your roots are deep, your habits are mature, and your soul is clean. That's when favor knocks. That's when doors swing open that you didn't even know existed. That's when your name gets spoken in rooms you haven't entered yet. But only if the altar is real, only if the price has been paid. In the next part, I'll break down the 3 most overlooked sacrifices that unlock disproportionate results. These are not what you think. Most people skip them. But the few who embrace them, they become unstoppable. Let's talk about the 3 sacrifices that don't look spiritual, don't look impressive, but change your entire trajectory. The first, the sacrifice of reputation. This one's brutal, because before you ever succeed publicly, you will be misunderstood privately. You'll be mocked, doubted, labeled. You'll lose invitations. You'll lose proximity. People will think you've changed, and you have, but not in the way they think. You've simply stopped explaining yourself to people who aren't assigned to your future. Reputation is one of the hardest sacrifices because it demands you let go of who people think you are in order to become who you actually are. You stop living for optics. You stop explaining your convictions. You stop auditioning for acceptance. And that silence, it makes noise, not immediately, but eventually, because what you build in the dark becomes undeniable in the light. You want elevation, sacrifice the need to be liked. You weren't called to please everyone, and you were called to build something that outlives you. The second, the sacrifice of comfort. This one is where most people quit. They want wealth, but not the loneliness that comes with long hours. They want clarity, but not the distance that happens when you outgrow your circle. They want power, but not the routines, not the repetition, not the boring consistency. Let me be clear, growth is not always dramatic. It's often boring, relentless, predictable, and yet, it's where the magic happens. You don't rise because you feel like it. You rise because you do what must be done, especially when you don't feel like it. Comfort is a liar. It promises safety, but steals destiny. And the people who change the world, they're the ones who've mastered discomfort. They live in discipline. They sleep in intention. They wake up with non-negotiables, not because it's easy, but because ease was never the goal. Impact is. The third, the sacrifice of timing. This is the hardest one to spot because it disguises itself as good advice. People will tell you, wait until the market's right. Wait until you're more prepared. Wait until you have more support. But destiny doesn't wait. And if you do, you might miss windows that never open twice. There is a cost to delay. Opportunities don't wait. And the most dangerous phrase in any language is someday. Someday kills dreams. Someday buries callings. Someday keeps people stuck in preparation, while someone else builds the very thing they were born to lead. If you feel the pull, move. If you feel the conviction, act. Perfect timing is a myth. The real key is faithful momentum. Start small, start hidden, but start. Here's what I've seen over decades. The people who sacrifice reputation, comfort, and perfect timing. They don't just succeed. They transcend. They tap into results that look unfair. But they're not unfair. They're earned. They're the result of quiet obedience to unseen laws. And in the final part of this message, I'll show you how these sacrifices connect to supernatural multiplication. Not just effort-based results, but outcomes that leap beyond logic. Stay with me, because what I'm about to reveal next might be the key that changes everything. Now we arrive at the moment most people miss, the shift from addition to multiplication. You've heard the phrase, work smart, not hard. But what if I told you, in the realm of the spirit, multiplication doesn't come from working smart or hard. It comes from sacrifice and obedience, the kind that moves heaven, the kind that alters atmospheres, the kind that sends resources, relationships, and revelations into your life that no hustle could ever earn. So let me leave you with this. Don't let this message just inspire you. Let it activate you. Choose one sacrifice this week. Time, money, ego, distraction, something. Offer it up, not as a donation, but as a declaration. A bold signal to heaven that you're ready for more. And if you want to go deeper into these principles, if you want teachings that don't just hype you up, but truly elevate your mindset, finances, and faith, then subscribe now, like this video. Share it with someone you know is on the edge of breakthrough. Drop a comment below. I choose obedience over ease. Let's flood this feed with people who are ready to build altars, not just platforms. People who don't just chase power, but steward it. Because at the end of the day, the most dangerous person in any room is the one who sacrificed too much to ever go back. And that, my friend, can be you.